Welcome to Thinking History. This DVD offers you 6 activities to improve the teaching of history. Each of the activities features movement and physical representation that will help students learn more effectively. We're going to show you one in full, all 25 minutes of it, so that you can see its development from beginning to end. The other 5, we've selected edited highlights, which show the key points. But don't worry about the omissions. You can find all the details and the full script on the Thinking History website. Why use active learning in history? The simple answer is that it raises standards. Students have to think more, think from the inside of situations. This means they think harder, they concentrate, and as a result of this higher level of concentration, they learn more and retain more. In addition, as part of these activities, they've taken on a role, and this means they care about the topic and the individuals. And that caring feeds through to the writing they do. They want to write. It's not just happening with their mind half switched off because it's just another homework. It's a piece of work they want to get right because they've had an emotional investment in the activity. But you don't have to just take my word for it.
I think the benefits of active learning are twofold really. First of all, pupil engagement. I mean, they are really so enjoy the activities that it becomes fun. They don't really understand their learning. And secondly, they're securing their knowledge in a much deeper way than just going through textbooks or worksheets.
Better knowledge and understanding, a better ability to be able to sequence events. I think they also remember the big picture.
If they can remember how they felt as the peasant, or they can remember how important they felt as the king, or the shock of actually putting a king on trial, I think it does enhance their knowledge. Particularly the making links between factors. If they've had to tie a piece of string to another person who's wearing a tabard, they don't forget that, and then those positions are then translated into the brains and then onto paper.
It enables you to reflect back to a very specific moment and to build on that in future lessons. I also think most importantly it's the sense of motivation and engagement in the follow-up work. They're interested, they want to know what happened, they've got lots and lots of questions, so they want to find out more, which is obviously what the kind of situation you want to generate as a history teacher.
It also helps us around school. Children are walking around saying, we've got history tomorrow, we're doing another piece of active learning. And kids are very interested in trying something that they think is different, and they also get the situation where they think they're having fun. But actually, they are having fun, but they're actually learning as well.
I think their written work definitely improves. I mean, there's more of the little details. There's the sense of engagement with the actual activity. They write with far more passion. You know, they're either angry if they've been in the role of an English landowner. And I think, you know, it's the language of argument comes through rather than just a simple recount of this happened and then this happened. I think they really get engaged with the actual writing task.
It makes the pupils more enthusiastic. If they spy these paper tabards or the props as soon as they come into the lesson, they want to do the lesson. And I actually think that doing it last thing on a Friday is not going to lead to a disaster, because I actually think it promotes good behaviour as well, because they want to be engaged in their learning, they want to take responsibility for learning about history. They don't just want to be lectured to or read it from a book.
Well, in terms of retaining their knowledge, the effects are amazing. I mean, it's not just the next lesson, it can be 6 months, it can even be at the end of the key stage when they look back, those are the lessons that they remember.
What all these activities have in common is that they're structured to solve particular learning problems, the difficulties that students have with individual activities year in, year out. If you're just new to teaching, this may require a little bit more explanation and a little bit of demonstration. When you start teaching, you're mostly juggling 2 things. The first of them is class management, the second is your own historical knowledge. And those really loom large in your experience. So large that perhaps they're this size rather than this size. But as you develop experience, they begin to reduce in size. And this is when you realise that there's more to juggle. The next thing you probably learn to juggle is the understanding of the historical process, because students need to understand about evidence, causation, interpretation, significance. So that's 3 things you need to juggle as a history teacher: knowledge, process, and class management. And unfortunately, it doesn't stop there, because when we switch to the students and their learning, we need to bring in 2 more balls. Those 2 relate to learning. The first is that people learn in different ways, some visually, some aurally, some kinesthetically. And then there's the particular learning problems related to individual activities, such as the one on 1066. Most people think that William was bound to win, but actually it could have happened differently. And so we can structure an activity to ensure that that learning problem is overcome. The advantage of active learning is it helps us juggle all these balls, not just the process and the knowledge, but it means that actually class management can be easier, and it also means we can focus on the learning, particularly with the kinesthetic learners, and particularly in terms of combating those learning problems. And this doesn't just relate to Key Stage 3. It's just as important to GCSE, at A level, and at university.
Well, the benefits of using active learning at GCSE are immense. I mean, you can turn what can be a dry, exam-driven course into a lively, exciting, captivating course. And the important thing is that if you've worked at it at Key Stage 3, then you can get the benefits at Key Stage 4, because you don't have to train the pupils. They already know what to do, and they have a much deeper understanding.
You need to make time, because I think you get some important dividends in terms of the quality of the understanding and the ability to recall events. I mean, also you're going to get lots of complaints if Key Stage 3 has been full of fun, engaging activities that got them actively involved, got them thinking, and then it disappears at Key Stage 4 or even A level.
Now back to the DVD. You'll quickly realise that we haven't filmed real Year 7 or Year 10 students in their classrooms. The logistics of taking cameras into schools are just too complicated. So we've compromised by filming students at college. But this still allows us to show you the choreography, which is the main purpose of the DVD. You can see how we use a room and how we move the students around the room and the kind of questions that are asked. The sorts of things that you can't pick up so easily from a written description. At this stage, there's also 2 more points I'd like to make. You'll see that the activities are fun, but they're not just about having fun. It's about raising standards, about students understanding more about how we do history, and about retaining more knowledge. And the second point is that these activities aren't just one-offs. They're not just isolated events which are separate from the rest of a course. At Key Stage 3, a course should have a beginning, an end, and clear themes. And these activities fit into those themes, and they bind them together simply because they are memorable. Now then, what advice do experienced teachers have for those of you who are starting out?
First of all, you need to practice. You need to practice yourself. You need to get to know how to do these kind of activities, and you need to teach your pupils how to do it. They need to practice. Secondly, I would say that you can't give up.
Try it, because you don't know what you're missing out on if you don't. The benefits are substantial.
First of all, just do it. Don't hold back. Don't try and teach every tiny little bit of detail.
Be confident. Try something. If it doesn't work, ask yourself why didn't it work, and try it again.
I think they're far less likely to misbehave, and I think they also forget where they are. For a while they are an English landowner or a Norman knight, and their normal pattern of behaviour in a classroom is forgotten.
And that's very nearly the end of the introduction. There's been 4 main points. Active learning helps us raise standards of understanding and knowledge. We also focus these activities on specific learning problems not just on chunks of history. Active learning also helps students to think more deeply, and that's where the learning comes from. And fourthly, active learning gives us that wow factor, that "Mum, guess what we did today in school" factor, the one that we can do so well in history, and perhaps I shouldn't make examples, but can you really imagine that happening in geography? Of course, doing something new requires taking risks, but good planning reduces the risks considerably, and the payoff is wonderful. When these activities work, it's the nearest a teacher gets to knowing how Steven Gerrard felt in Istanbul or Andrew Flintoff felt when England won the Ashes. That's how good it feels. It may mean taking a step or two outside your comfort zone, but it's really worthwhile.